how's it going? This is Big Lar here. This is a lockdown with Big Lar, Jack's private quarantine corner. So here we are in the middle of the lockdown. I'm in Japan. I'm in Nagoya, Japan, as a lot of you know. And we just started our emergency voluntary self-quarantine 2 days ago here in Japan. So today is Easter for me, April 12th. Although in Japan, nobody celebrates Easter. Well, I guess if you were a Christian, you would, but for the most part, nobody even knows what Easter is other than, hey, buy your kids some chocolate Easter eggs. So in Japan here, it's Easter lockdown. Up until, well, today, I'll let you know how bad the lockdown is here. I drove my wife to work this morning. Same amount of traffic as I always see. I met her for lunch today. That was about that shopping mall we met at was about half full. Normally it's a little packed around noon, and the food court today was maybe, I'd say 50 to 60% less people than usual. And I picked a table that was far away over by the windows, thinking that I'll social distance myself, and then everybody else came and sat next to me right away. Like 5 groups of people came and sat all around me, and I thought, oh, so much for social distancing, huh? Okay, today I'm going to talk about a couple different topics. Number one, self-quarantine. I've got some notes here, so I apologize. I'm looking down to be my right. Crushing it with cryptos. Yes, I'm crushing it with cryptos. JSNP4, keeping it real. If you know who JSNP4 is, this will mean something to you. How terrible a lot of the movie stars, comedians, and performers are making their own videos on putting them up on YouTube recently, and changes to work and education. Okay, let's start out with the self-quarantine thing. It seems pretty tough in the States. Of course, I'm from America, right? I'm from Wisconsin, western Wisconsin. In the Mississippi River Valley, we call it God's country, which interestingly enough, I've been around the world a little bit, and a lot of places in the world call their area, the people who live in different parts of the world call their area God's country, or the equivalent in their language, which is really interesting. Growing up, I thought only we were in God's country in Wisconsin there. So that's kind of fun. So anyway, the self-quarantine sounds pretty tough in some places. People I know are saying to me, wow, Larry, in Japan there, you're still taking trains, you're still going to work, you're still going out to the restaurants you want. Yeah, I'm still doing that. Now in Japan, they can't do a lockdown like you guys have in America because their constitution will not allow it. So they don't have the legal power to do it. So what they've done is they've issued this, I believe it translates to an emergency self-quarantine. Strongly suggested self-quarantine. And if you turn the TV on the side of the screen, they've got, like there's an emergency quarantine in place, If you don't have any reason to be going out, don't go out. Keep your ass at home. And they tell you, they flash on the top of the screen all the stores that are still open, the restaurants that are still open, the ones that have closed, and the reduced hours and whatnot. So it's a very soft quarantine as far as I'm concerned when I consider what's happening in places like America or Italy or Spain and other parts of the world. Now, I was working up until this past Thursday. I was working, things were normal, and I was thinking, even though the government's issued this emergency voluntary self-quarantine, maybe I'll be okay. Well, Friday night, late at night, almost 10 p.m., I get an email from the company that I'm working for. I work with a lot of executives. I do consulting work with executives. I get this email saying, oh, due to the emergency self-quarantine that's been put in place by the government, there is no work for you until May. May 12th will be the next day. We anticipate you being able to work with clients. So that was pretty sudden, I thought. But I had a feeling it was coming. And I don't know if I talked about it. No, I don't think I've talked about it because I have not done a YouTube video in, over 2 weeks now, about 2 weeks. I've been kind of quiet only because I had said all I wanted to say about the coronavirus and the quarantines and whatnot. And I just figured, I'm not going to be out there pumping stuff which a lot of people on YouTube are doing. You'll see people say, oh my God, you watch my video, I'm going to give you some insider information, or I have an insider who's telling me about this. This is the reason, the real reason that we're self-quarantining, or we're locked down. It's this, it's that. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of people, who have YouTube channels. Mine's a small YouTube channel. I'm very, very small. I think I have less than 200 subscribers. So if you're watching this, you're in the minority. I have a very small channel, and I just put out information that I think is suitable. It's okay. It resonates with me. I'm not going to give you guys any bullshit. I'm not going to make something up to get you to watch my videos. I'm not going to say I have life-changing information, and for $5 you can find out. Just come to my website and pay me $5 and I'll tell you. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. Now, I do have a Patreon channel, and once in a while I say, hey, if you're interested in cryptocurrencies, come over to my Patreon channel. We have a lot of good information there. I have all kinds of videos. I teach everything from A to Z about cryptocurrencies and how to safely secure them, how to buy and sell them, and the whole 9 yards. And I'll talk about that in a second, on how myself and my small group of Patreon members is crushing it with cryptos, just crushing it. So I haven't done anything on YouTube because I didn't think there was anything to do. And I was quite busy. I actually have a normal job that I do, and I'm married. I have 3 kids, and my kids have been off of school now for several weeks, I believe. Well, no, they were back off of school in the beginning of March, if I'm not mistaken. Their school is closed. So my kids are home, so I'm helping my kids out with their schoolwork sometimes, besides, working and doing whatever else, you do every day. So it's been a little busy, and my work is busy. I don't know why I got so busy in March, but I accepted all these extra assignments because I had a feeling April's going to come and it's going to drop off. It'll just fall off a cliff and there'll be nothing until probably May or something. So anyways, that's what's going on. And I've got some other stuff going on. I've got a new thing that I'm starting in America. I have a new website that'll be up hopefully this month. I have to prepare some more stuff for it. I have a very nice company handling it for me. Sorry. I'm very excited about that. So that's taking some time. And then I'm planning a move back to America, which is really funny because there are no flights leaving Japan for anywhere. So my wife's in the process of getting her visa to live in America. So myself and my 3 sons, we have American citizenship. My wife has Japanese citizenship, so we're just hanging out here waiting for all of that to go through. So that's kind of fun, actually, thinking that, wow, once she gets that visa stamp in her passport, we have to go within a certain number of months to America. Will there be a plane to go on? Yeah, sure there will. I'm pretty confident there will be, and we'll get there, and it'll be awesome. I've been away from America for 23 years. I feel a little bit like Odysseus in the, from the Iliad and the Odyssey, Odysseus. I feel like that dude. I've been gone so long, all these trials and tribulations put in front of me, but I will get back. Okay, so now about the self-quarantine. This isn't a big deal for me, not a big deal for me at all, because here in Japan, I'm pretty much doing what I want. No one's telling me I can't go here, I can't go there. And yeah, it's like I said, it's a very soft quarantine, a soft lockdown. It's just up to the individual to do it or not to do it. So I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do every day. I don't think I'm putting anyone in danger. I don't really go out and do wild stuff, I may go to a sushi restaurant once in a while, once a week or something. I may meet my wife for lunch at a nearby shopping mall, a mall that's close to where she works, once a week. I was taking trains a number of days, and it got to be where I have a video. I don't know if I still have it. I may put it at the beginning of this video. It's me on a train with no one on the train. I'm on this train by myself, which is something I've never experienced before in like 16 plus years in Japan. And I said I've been gone for 23 years, but 7 of those years was in Malaysia. Okay, now let me move to my second topic, crushing it with cryptos. there's a lot of people on YouTube and Patreon. If you're not familiar, Patreon is it's a website you can go to, and people put content up and you pay for the content. Usually a monthly fee. So there's lots of people on YouTube and Patreon who are promoting themselves as, I don't want to say experts, but they're promoting themselves as professionals when it comes to cryptocurrencies, giving people advice. Now, the strange thing about it is we have to play kind of a semantics game, because I have to say I'm not giving you advice on financial advice or investing advice. I'm just doing this for informational purposes, and that's what everyone says. Some people will say, "Oh, it's a hobby channel. Don't listen to what I'm saying." Well, yeah, we're paying you, or people are paying me to find out what I think about cryptocurrencies. Now, in my Patreon channel, it's not so much what I'm telling people about, hey, this is going to be a dynamite cryptocurrency, you should invest in it, but I give people all of the knowledge and the tools they'll need to actually, get a software wallet or a hardware wallet for your cryptos, how to get on an exchange and buy them, how to securely store them on your wallet, right? And then I have I think 2 or 3 videos on investing, like an investing mindset. How do you set up an exit plan once you've bought your cryptos, that kind of stuff. So mine isn't so much like, hey, this is a great crypto, you should buy this. I normally don't even say that kind of stuff. I may say these are the cryptos I'm following, but my thing is I want to give you the tools. So I'm basically, teaching you how to fish, not giving you the fish, right? So there's lots of people out there who are giving advice about cryptos, saying, hey, buy this one. Oh, it's never been cheaper. Buy this. You'll be so happy you did. You'll never get it at this price again. I don't do that kind of stuff. And it's really funny, because the people who do say that never talk about what they're doing with cryptos. They never tell you, are they making a profit or not making a profit? They may give generalized statements that say, oh, I'm doing very well. Yeah, my portfolio is doing very well. But my thing is if you're doing so well, give us some numbers. And if you're paying money to someone and if they don't give you numbers, if they're not transparent about what they're buying and selling, I think you're maybe paying the wrong person. And I'm not saying you should jump ship from them and jump over to my place. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that, I have enough experience in the space to see when people are being taken advantage of, and I see a lot of people being taken advantage of, and I feel bad about it, right? And I know a lot of people in different groups now who are paying different people on Patreon or YouTube or whatever someone's got going, their website. They're paying for advice that's not bettering them. It's just bettering the person they're paying. So what I want to do is I've got my computer here, and I'm not going to flash it on the screen because I don't feel like, taking a screenshot and then flashing it here. I'm just going to read this off to you guys. So I just want to be transparent about how myself and then my group of patrons, how we are crushing it with cryptos. We are completely crushing it with cryptos. Now we have a huge advantage. We have a big advantage because I know the importance of having a plan, having a sound plan when you're investing in something. So I have a sound plan. Hopefully I've taught the plan to all the people in my Patreon group, and they've used this plan themselves to buy and sell cryptos. Now, for a lot of people who don't have investing experience, this is tough because you have to change your mindset. And that's why a lot of people who do investing on their own fail, because they don't have the proper mindset and they don't have someone there saying, whoa, don't do it like this, do it like this. Trust me. Okay. So just to be transparent and to show off a little bit, right? Because I operate from the idea of show me the money. If you're telling me you're good at something, well, show me, right? And I'm not saying I'm good. I'm good at the whole buying and selling of cryptos. It's just that I have a plan, my plan works, and I work my plan. I'm disciplined enough to where I follow my plan. And because I follow my plan, I'm able to make a pretty good return on cryptos. This is not advice. This is not financial or investing advice. This is for educational purposes, to just let you know how I'm doing and how some of the people in my group are doing. Now, I'm not going to give any numbers of the people in my group, although I know what those numbers are, because I haven't asked the people, hey, can I tell everyone on YouTube what you guys are doing? I think the numbers that I'm going to show you will be more than enough to let you know that, wow, you guys are crushing it. Okay. This is my teacup here. Pretty sweet, huh? Okay. And this goes from from December 9th until, we'll say, April 7th. So almost, what do we got here? About 4 months time, right? 4 months here. Okay, so I'm talking just about Tezos here, just about Tezos. Anyone who's followed my videos knows that for over a year now, I've been talking about Tezos, NEO, and OMG. These are three cryptocurrencies, Tezos, NEO, and OMG. I've been calling them the three amigos because they've been very, very good to me. They're like three friends. Last year, I really crushed it with NEO and OMG. I was able to double my NEO. My OMG, I was able to increase at 91% without putting any more money into cryptos. Just from buying and selling cryptos, I was able to double my NEO and get my OMG increased 91%. Pretty sweet, huh? Okay. Now, since that time, I've fine-tuned things and I've taken it to another level, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm just talking about Tezos here, just Tezos, okay? So I started out with a certain opening balance of Tezos. And my plan was to sell my Tezos, you know, 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And I have target prices, right? So I'm going to be a little vague here, a little vague, but I'll give you enough information to know that, hey, this sounds pretty good. Okay, so I started out with a certain number of Tezos. I sold 1/3 of those Tezos, and I had a profit or a percent gain of 41.33%. 41% profit is damn good for investing. You talk to anybody and ask them, you know, how long would it take you to get a 41% profit? Okay, then I got price of Tezos went up again, hit a target price. I sold another 1/3, and that was a 69.52% gain. That is really sweet. And I put these, you know, and so I've got the profit sitting off at the side. Now Tezos dropped down in price, which I thought it would. Dropped down in price. I bought it back at a 35% discount. So I was able to gain the number of cryptos I had. So I had sold 2/3 of my cryptos, and then I sold the second third. So I sold 1/3, I sold 1/3, and then I bought the second 1/3 back, gaining 35%. So the number of cryptos I had increased by 35%. Well, then Tezos went up again. I sold another 1/3. So my second 1/3, I sold it again, had a 63.81% profit. Now, because of this 35% gain, my remaining 1/3 became much bigger than I had started with. My remaining 1/3. So I split that into two. So the first part of that I sold, again, when Tezos went up, for a 103.81% profit. 103% profit. Are you kidding me? Went up again, I sold it for 165% profit. So now I'm out. I'm out completely. So those are some pretty sweet returns. 41.33%, 69.52%, a 35% gain in the number of cryptos buying them back, a 63.81% profit, a 103.81% profit, 167.71% profit. Now Tezos went up even farther, and I could have sold at a higher price. However, I didn't do it. Why? Because you have your hodl bag and you have your trade bag. Your hodl bag you don't touch, you're just holding it, right? Hodl means hold, right? Your trade bag is what you can buy and sell. So my plan is to only sell what's in my trade bag. Even though the price of Tezos kept going up and I could have gotten even more profit out of it, I didn't. Why? Because it's not part of my plan. My plan is to only buy and sell my trade bag. I don't dip into my hodl bag. You have a plan, you work your plan, you stick with it, you're disciplined, right? So that's what I did, even though I knew I could have made even more because Tezos went up about $1 more than when I last sold it. But I was really, really happy. Why? Well, you just heard the numbers. My biggest gain was 165.71%. Who gets those kinds of numbers? That's nuts, right? Then I knew the price of Tezos was going to dump. I knew it. Luckily, I watched it happen live. I was on my computer. I looked at the price. 10 minutes later, wow, it just dropped 20 cents. Wow, it just dropped 40 cents. So Tezos dropped down. I bought, so I had my money split into 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, right? With the final 1/3, only the money from the final 1/3, I bought back my Tezos for a 142% gain. Just with that remaining 1/3, that final 1/3, I was able to buy back more coins than I started with. Right? Pretty sweet, 142% gain in the number of cryptos I had. Okay, then as I sell at this dump price, I watched the price go up 50 cents. As I'm sitting there, I've sold it now. I'm happier than hell. Got a big grin on my face. I'm drinking a cup of tea with the same glass I have here, my lucky teacup. And I see the price go up 50 cents within like 30 minutes. I'm like, well, damn, it just hit my target price again, my sell price. One of my target prices. What'd I do? I sold some. Okay, and then 12 days later, it hit my second target price. I sold it again. So I made during that, the day it dumped, I bought it back with my remaining 1/3. I made 142% gain on my cryptos. And then the price went up 50 cents. I sold it again. I made 42.86%. 12 days later, I sold some more, a 57.14% gain. A week later, I sold some more, 71.43% gain. And again, the next day, an 82% gain. So I'm sitting here with more than half of the cryptos I started with, but the profit that I'm sitting here with is double. I still have a profit of double what all of those coins were worth originally, plus more than half of the cryptos I started out with. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Like, myself and my Patreon group, we are crushing it with cryptos. If you're in a group and you're paying someone to tell you what to do, you're there because you want to make money, right? You want to make a profit, right? If you're not getting returns or gains similar to what I just told you, you are wasting your money. You're like throwing it out the window. What the heck are you doing? If you can't call me up on WhatsApp or send me a Telegram message and say, hey, Big Lar, I'm crushing it just like you. If you can't do that and you're paying someone, you better rethink what you're doing. Okay, I've been wanting to talk about that for a long time because I have a lot of people email me and say, hey, what do you think about this coin? What do you think about that coin? Hey, how you doing on this coin? You talk about Tezos, Neo, and OMG. How's it going? And I tell people, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Some people are like, what? No way. No way, you're kidding me. You can't be making those kind of profits. Yeah, I am. And guess what? I think Tezos is going to dump again in the near future. And when it does, I'm going to scoop them back up. I'm going to increase the number of Tezos I have without putting any more money into the market. Even today, I could easily, with my profit, buy back way more than what I started with. Even though the price is up, it's about $1.90 something now, right? So I'm just waiting for Tezos to dump, and I'll probably make another video when it does and tell you guys, hey, I just increased my Tezos from my original starting point, December 9th. I've got over 3 times more Tezos than what I started with. you'll probably see a video like that from me. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. It's very frustrating. I see a lot of people who don't have so much money paying money to people who are giving advice on how to, which cryptos to pick, telling them, buy at this price, it'll never be lower. Just hang on. No. Don't try and sell anything. Don't do any swing trading. Don't do any strategic trading. No. Just hang on. When it hits the highs in the future, it'll be this summer. Oh, no, it didn't happen this summer. It'll be in the fall. Oh, but it didn't happen in the fall. It'll be this winter. It didn't happen in the winter. Now we're in 2020. You're still hodling this stuff. But a guy like me has been swing trading it or strategically trading it, however you want to say it, and just crushing it. And I have other people now doing the same thing. So if you guys are not in that situation, man, you're really losing out. And I think you're wasting your money. Okay, enough of that. Sorry. Let's see. Next, I want to talk about Jay Snip. Jay Snip is this, he's a YouTuber who talks about cryptos. And he's actually, I got to straighten my legs out here. You ever sit like Japanese style and your legs fall asleep? Holy crap. Jay Snip 4. He's on YouTube, talks about cryptocurrencies, does a lot of news. And I used to watch him in the very beginning when I got into cryptos. I think it was 2016, I believe, the first time I saw Jay Snip 4. Kind of this bald-headed dude. He's living down in Florida, I believe. Seems like a very genuine guy, very nice guy. I've emailed him a couple times through the years when he's talked about Asia or Japan. Once in a while he may have his facts. I don't want to say wrong, but when it comes to the media and they're talking about Asia or Japan, they normally get it wrong. And I'm here in Japan, I'm seeing the news in Japanese. So it's like, oh, okay, this is what I'm hearing in Japan. Whoa, wait a second, how come this media outlet in America is saying this? It's not the same thing. And being on the ground here, I have a pretty good handle on what's going on. So anyway, a couple times over the years, I've emailed them and said, hey, dude, you said this, but it's actually, I think it's this. You might want to check it out. And I don't think I've ever gotten a response back from him, but anyway, so I'm familiar with the guy and I watched his videos. The only reason I stopped watching him is he was telling people to sell Litecoin when it was really, really cheap. And I think a lot of people got burned from his advice. Now, and he'll say to you, hey, don't listen to me. Do your own research, whatever. But when, you come on YouTube and say, hey, everybody, I really think, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell my Litecoin at $32. And then when it drops down to 60, I'm going to buy it back and have double the amount. You're going to get a lot of people to follow you. And I think he learned from that. Now, watching that whole, I'll call it a debacle, which is easy to say after the fact, right? I mean, the guy's putting himself out there. He's just telling people what he thinks. So I have a lot of respect for that because YouTube, you got to have thick skin to be on YouTube. You get a lot of haters. And so anyway, for that whole episode there, I was just like, nah, this guy, it just didn't resonate with me anymore because I was still learning about cryptos and whatnot. And I just felt like, okay, this isn't his best piece of advice. Now, I did not sell, I wasn't following his advice on it at all, but I just thought, ooh, dude, like, man, you probably put a lot of people in a bad situation. But it's a learning experience, right? It's a learning experience. So anyway, I stopped watching him for a while. And there's some other people. I was watching Bitcoin Ben. And then this Jay Snip 4 was making videos with Cliff High. Of course, I followed Cliff High ever since. I've known about Cliff since 2001. And I think I've followed him since, when was his first, those Alta reports came out? What was it, 2003, 2004? I may be off on the dates, but right in the beginning when he was doing it, I was following Cliff. So I'm familiar with Cliff High. And then this other guy, Big Lar, I never followed him, but Jay Snip 4 would do these Three Amigos videos with Cliff High and Big Lar. So I'm familiar with that guy. So anyway, recently there seemed to have been a falling out, sort of a personality clash, differing opinions. Cliff got pretty upset with maybe Jay Snip for whatever reason. Jay Snip 4, I think the guy's name is Joe. He has certain opinions on what the coronavirus is and what's going on. And Cliff has a different opinion, and this Big Lar have a different opinion. And I don't know exactly what was said, but it seems like a few, words were said, and this JSNP finally got fed up, I guess, and just called these guys out. And I saw this video recently, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting, because a lot of people, they get on YouTube and they get hooked up with different people, and you got followers, and now you're getting money, and you got Patreon, and money's coming in from that, and you want to keep your followers, but it's hard to have new content. So for me, if I don't have any content, I'm not going to keep making videos and talking about the same shit to you guys. I'm just going to not do anything, which is what I've done the last 2 weeks. I got nothing to say. Why would I bother you saying the same old stuff? It gets old, right? But I think for some people, they just feel a need to always put something out there. And for some of these people, I'm not saying this is JSNP or any of them, but some of these people, I think they put out kind of useless information. They're kind of grasping for straws. They make it sound like they've got an inside track or some insider knowledge that no one else knows. And if you listen to them or go to their Patreon or wherever, then you're going to get that inside information. And it's, it gets to be pretty sad, right? So anyway, this JSNP4 character, he called out a couple people, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because his assessment of things was very similar to what I've thought. I don't say much about anybody on YouTube because everybody's got their own deal going. Maybe people watch my videos and go, man, that Big Lar's a jerk, He doesn't give anything worthwhile, and he was doing videos on YouTube for free and giving us good information. Then all of a sudden he said, hey, come over to Patreon. Now you got to pay at least $20 a month to get the good information. And so people might feel that way about me too, And in my defense, I would say, do you have any idea how much time I put into this stuff? What I was making the videos for before, following a number like 20 cryptos every day, and I've got 14 different metrics that I research every single day about these cryptos, and I can tell you all kinds of stuff about them. Highs, lows, trading volume, percent to all-time high, percent to one-year high, all this stuff. How does it compare to yesterday? How does it compare to the high from last month? I can tell you all this information. It takes a lot of time, right? So I'd like to get something for my time. That's why I went to a Patreon model, and I understand a lot of people were turned off by that. But the interesting thing, I was talking to someone who has a company that deals with the internet and selling things on the internet and stuff like YouTube and whatnot. And this person, I was telling them about this exact situation, and they said to me, don't even think twice about it, because the people who are upset with you for you charging, because you're charging for the information now, those people would have never ever paid you. No matter what good information you gave them, they would have never paid you anyway. So why do you care what they think? So, it comes down to it. It is what it is. If a plumber comes to your house and fixes something, you pay the guy because that's what you think it is. But if he came to your house and did some plumbing for free for a number of months, and then let's say 3 months he did it for free, and the 4th month he's like, okay, now I want to get paid for it. You'd be like, what? Dude, you were doing it for free. Well, yeah, see, people don't appreciate free stuff. So that's just what happens, right? That's just what happens. So in my defense, I just felt like I'm putting a lot of time into this. I have something of value. And as I just told you with just one example of Tezos over the last 4 months, I seem to know what I'm doing when it comes to buying and selling cryptos because I'm crushing it. I'm just, I'm having success. And okay, I can just feel it now. Someone's out there going, yeah, he's telling us about his successes. What about his losses? Well, I don't have any losses yet. The only losses I have, in my mind, the only losses I have is when I was on someone else's Patreon channel and they gave advice and I followed their advice and they said, buy these cryptos at these prices. They'll never be lower. I bought those cryptos at those prices as an act of faith, just to say, okay, this person, even though they say it's a hobby channel, they're not giving advice. They really are giving advice. We're kind of jerking off with the semantics here. So I did that. Guess what? Those cryptos are now half the price that I bought them for. So I'm 50% down on this person's recommendations that I paid for. It's like, what? So in my mind, the only losses I have, now they're not losses because I haven't sold them at these reduced prices, right? But they're less than what I paid for them. So the only losses in my mind are the cryptos that I bought on other people's advice. Okay? So those of you who would say that, no, I don't have any losses, unless you really wanted to get nitpicky about it and say, well, how about all your coins? What's your portfolio look like? Well, yeah, those coins, the ones that this person recommended, those are down, those are at a loss currently. Okay. So getting back to JSNP4 here, I was just very happy. Guys, keeping it real, saying what he thinks. And he was saying, you know, these people who he was friends with, that he was knocking on, when I think he had very good reason to knock on them. He may lose them as friends. And it's like, yeah. And he said something. He said, if you're a real friend to someone, you'll call them out when they're doing something that's wrong. If you think something's wrong, you'll call them out, and they'll be man enough to say, yeah, you called me out and I respect that and I'm not upset. Okay, I'll think about it. That's what a friend does, right? So I thought, yeah, this guy's got a good, JSNP4's got a good head on his shoulders. I like where the guy's coming from. I don't know what these other personalities think about him or how it's going to play out. I don't really care. It's nothing to do with me. But here in the crypto space, I do have a lot of people who email me and private message me and say, hey, what about this? What about that? Hey, did you see this recently? So I thought I would just talk about it a little bit. So my hat's off to JSNP4 for keeping it real. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is, man, since this lockdown stuff has happened, there's all these like movie stars slash comedians slash performers out there making their own videos. You know, you got people like Madonna doing goofy videos, and who else was it? I can't even remember now. Oh man, it just makes me realize these people have no talent. No talent. If it wasn't for songwriters or people writing, you know, scripts for movies, or maybe writing jokes for some of the comedians, these people would be nothing. They're making these videos and they're just, oh, they're horribly boring shit. You know, they're talking about what they did and this and that, and like, oh yeah, it's tough. I'm here. I can't leave my house. You know, yeah, I've got this $10 million Hollywood mansion, and you know, my pantry's stocked up with 2 years worth of food, and oh, I just gave my cat some caviar. Geez, I only have enough caviar for a couple months for my cat, and this and that. And it's like, you have no idea, number one, what the average person goes through. Well, maybe you do, because you were an average person yourself at one time. But you're putting out some boring ass shit. I've really lost a lot of respect for different people. Now, I've never been googly-eyed over movie stars by any means. I've never been that way. I'm not impressed with most people like that. I mean, I can't understand the sports stars too. People who are good at sports, like, what's the big deal? You know, you're good at sports, but what do you contribute to society? You know, teachers contribute a tremendous amount to society. They get paid almost nothing. They don't get the respect they should get. And yet our society values these movie stars who, you know, they're just acting. And I know some people would say, oh, do you know how tough acting is? Well, it's not as tough as someone who goes to a factory every day and makes cars, you know, or someone who does a manual labor job, someone who does what they have to put food on the table for their family. To me, that's like that's a much more respectable lifestyle than someone who just, you know, oh, I acted in a movie, or oh, I play sports. I'm not impressed with it. I'm not impressed with it, because it's like, what are you doing? Oh, it's okay. Get us back to the old Roman bread and circus thing. Okay, you contribute to a pastime that distracts us from how shitty our lives are, basically, right? That's basically what it is. That's basically what it is. So there is some value there because it lets people forget about how terrible things are. But in the scheme of things, I'm not that impressed. I have to say it. I'm not that impressed. So watching the videos of all these people, it's just like, oh man, this is how they are when they're by themselves, when they don't have, you know, 10 makeup artists and to make them look presentable, and no one's telling them what to wear or what to say. Oh, geez, I had to talk about this. I just had to talk about this. Like, what the hell is going on with most of these people? It's just amazing. Okay, enough about that. And then last thing I want to talk about, changes to work and education. Everyone's at home. By now, a lot of people have realized, hey, my kid's not going to school, but they're learning. They're learning. They're probably learning more sitting at home than they would at school. Now, I know there's good schools out there. There's lots of good teachers out there. I also know there's lots of bad teachers out there. There's lots of bad education systems out there in the world. I'm not saying they all are. I've been a teacher for over 20 years. I've been a teacher trainer for over 10 years. And I've worked in, education management positions, very, very high positions where I dealt with federal level people, state level people, to roll out education programs nationwide. So I understand the whole thing. I've personally spoken with over 120 school principals as to, what their biggest concerns are. What are they worried about on a daily basis with their school? How are they rolling out different curriculums? What problems do they have? What things work? What things don't work? I've seen it all. I've really seen it all. And I've been to several countries and been able to do that. So I'm very lucky, very blessed to have that experience. So I've talked about 21st century learning for, the last 9 years now. The last 9 years. Like, what is important for education? The system that we currently have is broken. It's broken. It doesn't work. Why are we still doing it? So when the coronavirus thing came up in the quarantine, I was like, this is beautiful. This is so beautiful because kids will be at home. They'll have to take a little more responsibility for their learning. Parents will too. Some parents won't. Some parents won't. I understand that. And people are going to realize, teachers, of course, students will. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to school. You can get an education at home. There's a lot of time at school that's spent on nothing activities. There's a lot of time. I know because I've visited over 200 schools. 200 schools to where I knew the teachers, I knew a number of students, I knew the issues of the schools, I knew their strengths and weaknesses. So not many people can say they've been to 200 schools in 3 different if I include Japan, it's even more schools. I've been at schools, in the schools, working with teachers and the staff and the students and the management in over 200 schools in 3 countries, 3 different countries. And if I include my own time of going to school in America, up until 12th grade, I have a bachelor's degree, I have 2 master's degrees. I understand what it takes to be a learner and what it takes to be a teacher, right? An educator. People are going to realize, whoa, we don't need to go to school. There's a lot of fat in the system that can be cut out. Now apply the same thing to work. Apply the same thing to your job. Probably this is going to highlight to a number of people and a number of companies that they have too many staff. If you're in a certain job and you realize, hey, my company's been able to get along with me all this time, with me being quarantined at home and things are still running, you better rethink your job. You better rethink your job. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody or make anybody panic, but, we were in a labor economy. We used to be in an economy that was based on labor. Now we're in an economy based on attention and is based on information. So you going somewhere and physically manipulating some material to make a new material, a new thing, if you have a job like that, your days are numbered. They really are. They really are. I hate to tell people that, but we are no longer in the manual economy. Now maybe things will change once we get back, once America gets up and running again. Hopefully companies will do a reverse globalization. This whole globalization thing was good for companies. It wasn't good for the average person, not at all. Well, someone might argue because whatever XYZ company, instead of manufacturing it somewhere in America, they manufactured it in China for 1/20th the price. The company made huge profits, and then the consumer could buy it for half of what they used to buy it for. But the quality was shit, so really you got screwed in the deal, right? When I go to America, I see people buying a lot of shit they don't need. It's low quality, and it's disposable. It's disposable. Come on, when my parents got married, you bought a washer and dryer, you bought a refrigerator, had a lifetime warranty. Where do you see that today? Where do you see a lifetime warranty today? That kind of stuff now, you're lucky if it lasts you 10 years, and the price is a lot more, right? So this is really going to change things. I think a lot of people in certain jobs, you're going to want to get out of your job and get into something that requires more intellect. It requires a higher skill, right? More critical thinking. But it would be nice if this anti-globalism takes place. Now, I know some people are going to be upset for me saying that, but hey, we should have our manufacturing in America. If we had our economy tight, if our politicians had not sold our country out over all these years, this thing would have happened. We would have all of our manufacturing in America. We'd be tight. We'd be like, hey, we're set. We can make everything here. We've got it. We've got it. In fact, we'll just ramp up production and send it overseas. It could have been a boon to our economy to have this happen, but instead, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call that, hey, we need to bring things back to our country, make things in our country, because you have to become self-reliant, right? Do you want a lot of important things like medication being made in China, being made in countries where their safety and health standards are not the same as ours are? I can tell you a lot of horror stories about China and food because I'm here in Japan and we've gotten a lot of food and different products from China. Baby formula. Companies in China were putting this melamine powder in baby formula. And if babies drank it, it was clogging up their kidneys and it was killing them. Who does that? They had these, we have these things called nikumang in Japan here. I'm trying to think of how it would, like a steamed pork bun or something, might be the translation in English. And they found that people were getting sick from these steamed pork buns that were made in China. Well, an investigative reporter went to China, went undercover with a camera, and he found that half of the filling of these steamed pork buns was cardboard. The company in China would wet down cardboard, put it through a shredder, and then mix it with the meat and the vegetables to make the filling more. Why? Because in China, cardboard was considered an edible item. It was natural. It's made from paper. Right? You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. And I could tell you a million more horror stories about things I found out firsthand in Malaysia when I was living there, of things that Chinese companies were doing with food. It's just, oh my God, you'd be shocked to your core. So why are we having a country that has lower standards than America making important things like medicine? Why? Just so some company can make an extra, $50 million or $100 million profit on substandard products? Doesn't make any sense. So I hope that there is this reverse globalization. I said anti-globalization, I think, a second ago, but I mean reverse globalization, where we bring things back to America, where we bring manufacturing back. And if that happens, then I would say, yeah, if you're in a manual labor job that requires, some level of skill, some level of intellect, you may be okay. You may be okay. But if you're in a job now that you think, wow, AI could replace my job, you might want to think about it. So with this whole quarantine thing, education will change. Absolutely, it will change. Do we need brick and mortar buildings? No, we don't. No, we don't. A lot of stuff can be done online. A lot of stuff can be done online. We need to rethink education. Like, what's important? What's the end goal? What's the end goal? I used to be against this 21st century learning, but now I'm for it. Now I'm for it. Because what do you need? Well, you need to communicate in English. Whether you like it or not, you need to know English. If you're going to do anything in the world, you need to know English, right? So you need to be a good communicator in English. You need to be flexible. You need to be flexible, and being flexible also means you're creative, I think. because if you're not flexible, you will have zero to no creativity. So being flexible / creative, it would be very important. That's number 2. So first, be a good communicator in English. Number 1. Number 2, be flexible in your thinking, which also will make you creative. Number 3, be a self-learner. Learn how to learn. You have to figure out how to learn so that you can teach yourself new things, because you're going to get out in life and you may have to totally relearn a new job, a new skill, a new subject on your own. For example, cryptocurrencies. In 2016, I got into cryptocurrencies, started learning about it. It took me about 6 months to wrap my head around cryptocurrencies. What are they? What are they going to do? How is it going to change things? It took me 6 months to wrap my head around it, right? And I got to where I wrote a research paper for one of my MBA courses was a finance class. I wrote a research paper on it. And my professor, now I'm not saying this to toot my own horn or to be egotistical, but my professor said to me, wow, no one has written anything like this, like an academic paper on cryptocurrencies. You may be the first one. And this professor, the university she was at, she also taught at a few other universities. And she said, I passed this around to some of the MBA faculty, and everyone was like, wow, how come this guy can write this paper? Who is this guy? He's really one of your students? Yeah, because I had been researching it for a couple of years by the time I wrote it. There's nobody there teaching me about it. So number 3 is you have to become a self-learner. You have to learn how to learn a new subject. Figure out how you learn best, different techniques. And then that's skill number 3. Basically, that's what you need. That's what you need for your future. You need to be a good communicator. You need to be flexible / creative, and you need to understand how to learn new things on your own. Now, someone might come along and say, oh, what about math? What about science? Forget about subjects. Forget about subjects. Really, I mean, forget about it. The subjects are not as important as those 3 skills I just told you. Now, being a good communicator not only means you're good at speaking a language, but you're good at writing a language, right? So that in itself is a huge thing. That's a huge thing. And if you think about it, being a good communicator is not just talking about the weather. It's not just like me sitting here talking to you guys about, the topics that I talked about. It's understanding all of the subjects that you would need to communicate with different people in your life. So, of course, if you have a job that's technical, you're going to lean towards maybe science or math, maybe physics or something, right? So, whatever your field of expertise is, you're going to lean towards that. You'll just have to learn that, right? Like my bachelor's degree is in fine art. So everything that came up about art, design, drawing, painting, working with ferrous and non-ferrous metals, working with clay, doing ceramics, making sculptures, understanding how to join things together, right? Things like welding. Those were all, what can I say? Secondary things, things like welding. Were secondary things because, I have to make this sculpture using ferrous metal, steel. I have to use steel to do this. Well, how am I going to join these pieces? I need to learn how to weld. Okay, I have to teach myself how to weld, or I have to find someone who can teach me. I mean, that's what life is, right? So the subject matter is not so important because you're going to find out what you want to study, what you're good at. Hopefully your passion and what you're good at will be the same thing. Hopefully that'll happen for you, right? And then you'll just know, I have to study these things in order to excel at what I'm doing or what I want to do. Okay, guys, I'm going to call that a wrap here. This is pretty long. So what did I talk about? I'm just going to look back at my sheet here. I talked about self-quarantining, crushing it with cryptos. Yeah. JSNIP4, keeping it real. Good job, JSNIP4. Let's see. What do I have here? Oh yeah, how terrible a lot of the movie stars / performers and comedians videos are. Oh Jesus. and changes to work and education. Okay, guys, as always, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, smash that like button. Any questions or comments, please put them below. Hope you guys have a great, let's see, what's it today? Yeah, it's Easter. It's Easter for me. For some of you, it may not be Easter yet. Maybe it's just rolling into Easter. Hope everyone has a great Easter. All my prayers are with everyone that this whole thing ends quickly. We all get back to our lives. Won't be the same lives we had. Hopefully it'll be a lot better than what it was before. I have a good feeling it will be. And I will see everybody on the next video. You guys take care.